Good afternoon. I'm Chris Scher, Member Communications Director of the Society of Broadcast Engineers and the host of this month's episode of the SBE WEBxtra, the SBE chapter of the web. This is a monthly SBE meeting usually held on the third Monday of the month. The SBE is the Association for Broadcast and Multimedia Technology Professionals with more than 4,500 members, mostly in the U.S., but around the world. The foundation of the SBE stands on several legs, and among those legs are certification, frequency coordination, and education. On today's SBE WEBxtra, we'll focus on the educational side. While continuing education is a major focus for SBE members, the initial education is what gets you into a career. The SBE Mentor Program and the Technical Professional Training Program contribute to this effort. Many have lamented that there are fewer people choosing broadcast engineering as a career field, and we'll look into some possible solutions. Our guest is with the Chesterfield County Public Schools in Virginia. Chesterfield County is just outside of Richmond. We'll discuss the efforts of the school system to prepare students for a career path, and this includes broadcast engineering. But before we dive into that, I have your SBE member update for February 19, 2024. The SBE is celebrating 60 years this year. Events and activities are being planned throughout the year, including the NAB show. Watch our usual outlets, the website, the Signal, SBE News for details. Part of this is a project just announced by the program of certification called the Diamond Project. If you hold SBE certification, but you let it lapse before 2023, you can apply to reobtain your SBE certification without taking the exam. There's a special application and fee structure for this. Get all the details at sbe.org/Diamond Project. The certification program has career benefits, so take advantage of this offer if you qualify. On the educational side, we have some webinars coming up. RF Multipath is the topic for the live webinar on March 21st. John Keene and Gary Cavell of Cavell Mertz Capital Aerospace are the presenters. They'll delve into the intricacies of RF Multipath, exploring its impact on both fixed and mobile broadcast reception and its implications for point-to-point microwave systems. On April 25th, the SBE's 2024 RF Safety Course will be presented by Stephen Lockwood, Senior Engineer and Partner with Hatfield and Dawson Consulting Engineers. Updated annually, this course covers regulations and requirements for a safe RF environment, providing compliance at a site, signage, and other issues. You can always access the entire library of webinars by SBE presentations on demand. For more information on these and all of the webinars by SBE, go to sbe.org/webinars. The SBE has laid the plans for another SBE Ennis workshop to be held just before the start of the 2024 NAB show in Las Vegas. It will be held in the West Hall at the Las Vegas Convention Center. Details are online, so save the dates, April 12 and 13. Separate registration for the workshop is required. You can do that through the NAB Show website, nabshow.com. Get all the details on the SBE Ennis workshop at the NAB Show, including topics and presenter bios, online at sbe.org. The next local certification exam window is in June. Apply by April 26th. The SBE will offer a certification exam session at the 2024 NAB show on April 16th. You need to apply by March 1st to take it there. If you don't want to wait, or if a local chapter exam is just not convenient for you or not possible for some reason, private proctoring is available. More information on SBE certification is online at sbe.org/certification. And that's your SBE member update for February 19, 2024. The stories of how many SBE members got into broadcast engineering vary. Some went to college, some did not. Some came in through other departments at the station. Some came in directly through engineering. Identifying a career path earlier than later in a career can certainly help the younger people to enter and advance in the workplace, and that's what our guests today are here to talk about. We have Katy Stokes, the work-based learning coordinator, and who works at Chesterfield County Public Schools in Virginia. How are you, Katy?
I'm doing well today. Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
Very good. Well, thanks for joining us on today's WEBxtra. As we talked a little bit offline, the SBE has stepped up its educational efforts over the years, and it's one of our, sort of call it one of the legs of the stool of the foundation of what supports the SBE, in addition to certification and some other programs. So I guess let's start at the beginning. I know that I've been told that Chesterfield County Public Schools has put a lot of effort into working with students to try to get them an early head start on the careers. So they're, like I said, getting a foot in the door and getting a head start as opposed to kind of starting behind the game. Tell me a little bit about your program and how you prepare some students.
Sure, I'd be happy to kind of just share some general information about what Chesterfield County Public Schools has been doing. And we've been doing this for many, many years. It's just that in the last few years, our superintendent has really felt a strong emphasis behind making sure that our students are leaving our doors prepared for next steps. So he has really put a lot of focus on work-based learning in Chesterfield County and really helped to promote this program. Chesterfield is actually really unique in the fact that we do have an entire team dedicated to work-based learning. I have myself as the coordinator, and then I have a team of 10 that I work with that are assigned to different positions in the school system. Some are working with high schools and middle schools to help those students really have these tangible work experiences. And then I have some staff members that are helping with the platform piece of things that we utilize, along with documentation, and then our business partnerships that are helping to create across the district. So we are very blessed in the fact that our superintendent is super behind this initiative and has really helped to align a lot of staff members to help support this. Because of the support that we have, it is the reason that Chesterfield is one of the best in the Commonwealth with work-based learning. During the 22-23 school year, we had over 23,689 work-based learning experiences for students in grades 6 through 12. So that means that students had some type of an experience where they were either having guest speakers come in and do conversations in the classroom, to workplace tours, to job shadowing, all the way up to internships, externships, clinicals, and youth leadership apprenticeship. Chesterfield County really focuses on a sustainable model where students are having multiple touch points along our work-based learning continuum. And what that really means is that we want students to first be exposed to careers that are out there and available to them so they have an awareness, because kids don't know what they don't know. And if we're not bringing opportunities for them to learn what's out there, what's in their back door, and how it connects to their courses, then we're doing a disservice to them. So we really focus on that model with our middle school and our younger students to at least have an awareness of, are there, looking at all the 17 career clusters that are out there, knowing what kind of jobs and careers align to those 17 career clusters and how they connect to their classes. And so in doing so, we were able to have these multiple experiences where we have a guest speaker come in and talk to a group of kids, because the guest speaker coming in and talking is a lot better than me coming in and talking about being in the broadcast industry. And it's going to garner that interest from our students. And they're going to say, okay, that was a really great experience. Now I want to go out and see it. I learned about it. I've got an interest. Now I want to go look at what that looks like. And then by going out and maybe doing a job shadow and seeing, okay, that was really cool. I want to now go have a hands-on experience where I'm touching, I'm actually seeing what a day in this job looks like. And that really helps our students to affirm that, yes, this is right for me, or no, it's not, which is just as important, that we're making sure we're providing these experiences so kids can have that moment to really affirm what they think that they want to do.
Excellent. Yeah, we don't know what we don't know. That's
right.
That's the lesson we all start with. Of course, our interest is more on the broadcast and specifically the technical side of broadcasting. It sounds like, well, I won't say it sounds like, it's obviously you're covering probably as great a territory as you possibly can, from A to Z, I'll just say, since as opposed to trying to list any potential career paths. What are some of the career paths that you've introduced students to?
Well, so one of the newer ones that we have is aviation is something that we've been focusing on. We have 2 new programs that have come up in 2 of our high schools where we have an unmanned flight program for students that are interested in going into some type of aerospace or aviation or drone. And we kind of joke, we had several students pass their flight certification last year, and these students can't even drive yet, but they're able to get a license to go fly drones. So it really is not just looking at what's out there and available. We really try to have some tangible experiences where we're connecting it to what students are telling us that they want to do. So we do a lot of surveying with students. We use a platform in Chesterfield called Major Clarity that kids use from 5th grade through 12th grade. And it does a lot of interest assessment. So what are your likes? What are your skills? What are you good at? And how does that connect to your courses that you're taking? And then let that kind of align into some career pathways. So kids are starting to be able to expose in this digital platform, and then they can have digital experiences in there where they're kind of learning a little bit about it. And then they have a reflection project that they complete in a course that they do in middle school called Career Investigations, where it talks about myself, the interest, the type of schooling I need, the careers I'm interested in. So it kind of gives them a pathway that they can start mapping out to see if this is going to be a good fit for them. And so that information has been really critical for us in the school division to kind of see, okay, what are kids saying that they want to do? Where are their interests? Do we have courses in the high schools that they're going to that align to this? But we also do look at what the labor statistics is saying. So what are the growing trends in our current society for the workplace, for the jobs that are out there? What do we need right now? What do we need in 5 years? So we're really making sure that we're aligning our courses to what the workforce needs, along with what our students are saying that they want to do.
How early do you start working with them on identifying some of these career paths? I mean, obviously you're K through 12 schools, but I can't imagine you're starting quite that early. Secondary, middle school, somewhere in there?
Well, currently our program is really focused on the middle and the high school, but my dream and my goal is to be more involved in the elementary education as well piece of this, because it does come into play. The platform that I mentioned that we use, we do have all of our 5th grade students that are in it. So very generic, it's very basic. It's just, let's learn that there are 17 career clusters. Let's learn what each of those mean. Let's talk about some different skills that you need in them and talk about the different careers that may be an option to them. But it's trying to bring a little bit more awareness. So if you hear healthcare, what do kids most think? Doctors and nurses. Those aren't the only jobs that are in that field. So it's trying to be exposing them to radiological techs or medical assisting and billing and coding. So just to bring that awareness that there's a lot of other things that fall under that umbrella than just the typical what they think. And we've gotten a really good partnership started with our elementary schools this past year, where we're really doing focused career fairs. So instead of just having a day where mom and dad sign up to come, which is amazing and wonderful for exposure, but can we do it a little bit more thoughtfully? Can we try to have somebody from each career cluster in, so that a student or students can begin to hear about the 17 that are out there, and that individuals that are coming and talking are really targeting to, this is my job now, this was the pathway I got here, this is kind of whether it worked out great, was a straight path, or whether it was a curvy and windy path. That's okay. But it's just about letting those kids kind of hear what's out there and available. So we are trying to do a different model where we are doing it in elementary school and then building upon it each year for our students when they go to middle school and then all the way through high school.
Very interesting. So your county, the county you serve, is outside of Richmond in Virginia, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So any of our chapter members who are in the Richmond, Virginia area might want to try to get a hold of you, and we can certainly get some contact info for that to happen. Do you know of any other schools anywhere within, whether it's in the Commonwealth of Virginia or elsewhere in the country, that are already doing something similar to this?
So work-based learning is not just a thing in Chesterfield. It is something that is happening all across the state of Virginia and across the nation. It is a high area of interest that a lot of our schools are pushing forward. Especially in Virginia, there is a new school accreditation factor. It's called the CCRI, which stands for the College Career and Civics Readiness Index. And it's measuring how well are our students being prepared when they graduate to go on to next steps. So are we ensuring that we're providing different opportunities for them? And one of those opportunities that falls in that measure is work-based learning. So while it's really great for our students and is an opportunity that we want all kids to have, so they really are affirming those career pathways, it is something now that is also tied to school accreditation, and that's throughout the entire state of Virginia. Now, other states have similar measures that are in place. It may not be exactly the same as what Virginia is doing, but it is something that all schools are working towards. Most of the schools in Virginia have a person like me that is doing work-based learning in that school district. Now their role looks very different typically than mine. Sometimes they're splitting it with other tasks and responsibilities that they have, or they may have a small team. It just depends. But there is a person that is dedicated in most of the school buildings that is encompassing work-based learning and bringing these experiences to our students and also connecting with our community partners. And then across the nation, we are seeing a rise. There are some states that are doing really, really well with this, like Iowa, Indiana, Georgia, Pennsylvania. There are some that are just getting the foundation and the grounds out there, such as like Kentucky, Louisiana. But all of the states across the nation, for the most part, are working in this experience where we're connecting our kids to these experiential learning opportunities to really affirm, yes, this is what I want to do. And a big shift with that is because of the demand that we have in our workforce. We know that we don't have the workforce out there ready to go into these steps that we need. So if we're able to develop better pipelines where business partners are connecting more with schools to give these opportunities to students, then they are able to affirm sooner and earlier that, yes, this is the right path for me. One of the great models that we have in Chesterfield with this is many of our business partners have really, really loved to engage with our students because it gives them a trial run pretty much with them. And it gives our students a trial run. A student can come out for an internship, which is a minimum of 40 hours. It can be more than that, but that's the minimum that we ask. They do not have to be paid, but they can be. It's up to the business to decide that. but it really gives that chance for that student to vet that business, and that business to vet that student, to say, hey, is this a good fit? Is this a good candidate? And to really have this nice symbiotic relationship where if this works out and it's been great, these students then will either go to college or go to a training program and then come back and work for that company, or they'll go straight into employment with that company. And so we're really seeing a sustainable model with this, where we're having our students be more successful, and our businesses are becoming more thankful for being involved with us because they're getting that workforce that they need. We have an engineering firm here in Chesterfield that's been really great to partner with us the last 3 years, and they took 3 students last year as engineering interns. They were so impressed with them that they're paying for them to go to college, and the kids are coming back and working during their spring breaks, their summer breaks, their winter breaks for them. Their kids, when they graduate, will come back and work for that company for 3 years before they move off somewhere else. But it's been a really awesome model to see some of these experiences happening for our students and our businesses, because we really have to kind of shift up what's been going on to make sure that we are building a model like this, where you are getting to reach the students at a younger age, so they just, first of all, are aware of what's out there. And then 2, kind of see what your company and organization is about, because a lot of times they don't know. They hear something, they hear that's in their backyard, but they just don't know what all that it offers and how it aligns to their values and their why. And so it's just about bringing that awareness at a different level to all of our stakeholders.
Very good. So you're probably constantly on the lookout for speakers, both to speak to students in class. You mentioned internships. What other opportunities are available to of course, again, I'm looking at probably a broadcast station, but anybody who wanted to become a participant in one of your programs?
We really are able to kind of tailor our experiences to what works best for our students and our community partners. I don't have like a cookie cutter that everybody has to do this. My ask when I meet with business partners is, could you do a guest speaking or a career fair first? See how that goes, drum up that interest. And if you're able to, and a kid is really showing they have interest, could you take one student for a job shadow, which is just for 4 hours in a day? Could you do that? And if that works out really well, could you provide an internship or an externship where they're coming out for 40 hours and just observing, learning, or doing actual tasks? And then could it also go all the way up to anything as a youth registered apprenticeship? The students are getting older and getting ready to exit the door, so that they're getting that hands-on experience before they leave and go on. So it really can be modified to what the business is able to do. We don't want to make a business feel like they have to, but if they're able to, and if we can grow, that's my goal every year, is the more business partners we have, next year, can you add one more thing on if you're able to? Because especially if it was a successful experience, if you took 2 kids, could you take 3 kids the following year, just to kind of see what works? And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But we really want to build that partnership with our businesses. And we have done really well. The first year I was here, I think we had 251 business partners, and this year we're at 456 at this current moment. So definitely loving to see those numbers grow. But you could heard the amount of students that we're serving. So we need more and more business partners so that all of our students are getting a chance to go out and really find that connection point.
Excellent. So what can a station, broadcast station, or actually production houses even, are some of our members as well, what can they do to get involved? Obviously, contact you is a first step, but
Yes,
it may not be the individual, but somebody should be steered your way.
For sure. I mean, I'm happy to help facilitate however I can. Across the state and Virginia, I'm pretty connected with most of the work-based learning coordinators. We do have a coalition where we come together once a month, and we come together and talk about what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, how we can support each other. And it's a really great unit where we are sharing things like this. If I hear about an opportunity, but maybe it's not best for Chesterfield because it's not located there, I will share it with another person or vice versa. So I'm happy to help facilitate that. But another thing would just be to contact and reach out to your schools. If you're not in Virginia, or if you're across the nation in a different state, you can always reach out to individuals in your schools. Often they have somebody that's doing things with family and community engagement. That's the first person to go to, because typically that person will be able to facilitate you to the right person.
I was just going to say, what's the key word to call? Because every program probably has a different name.
Probably all have a different name. They probably all have something different going on. But most school districts have somebody that's involved, like in the community engagement piece of that. And that would be my first person, because typically they're the ones meeting all of the business partners that are helping in all of the different ways that business partners help our school systems. But they could definitely facilitate you and get you to the right person, or anybody that's in workforce development. That's another key term that's going around. This is either work-based learning coordinator, workforce development coordinator, workforce development department. Those would be the other places to reach out to, or just your technical centers. Almost all of your high school technical centers are going to have a program that's aligned to what you're interested in. So just connecting with that principal or somebody in that building would help to kind of facilitate you to the right person in the right place to get started with this process.
Interesting. Are there any specific, I mean, do you know of any students who've expressed an interest in going into the technical side of the broadcasting world?
So actually, in Chesterfield, we have another really cool model with our high schools. Each of our high schools has a specialty center that's attached to them, and they're all different things. I mean, we have theater and fine performing arts, we have math and science, we have engineering, but one of ours at Manchester High School, located in Chesterfield, Virginia, is mass comm. And so all of the students that are going into that program are interested in something in that field. A lot of them are really, really interested on the technical side, and we have a really great partnership there. And those are students in 9th through 12th grade. Their courses are all targeted towards that area. Yes, they're taking English, math, science, and social studies, but all of their electives are pretty much kind of chosen for them. Now they do have some flexibility, but they're all in the mass comm realm. So they're learning editing, soundproofing. They're learning all the different aspects that come into TV and media and broadcasting. So they have a really great foundation with that, and most of them are all going to go into that path when they leave out. We do have some other programs across the county too, as well. It's not just that one school, but that just has a very tailored, specific program in that area. But a couple of other high schools have programs that are in media and broadcasting, and then we are actually looking in Chesterfield in a few years to expand our offerings here at our technical centers in that realm as well, just knowing the need that's there and also the interest that our students are promoting in that field.
Interesting. Very interesting. I would also think on the mass communication side, a lot of the students probably are thinking more along a production angle than sort of the maintenance and installation angle that I think a lot of SBE members are involved in. I think a lot of them would be blown away to walk into a transmitter site and see these things that look like big refrigerators in some cases, or the tower with the antenna, and some of the more behind the scenes things would be of interest to some of them as well.
Oh, for sure. And I think the big thing you hit right there is that it's just that exposure. How many of them know that that's out there and that's a field in that pathway? I'm sure they touch on some of those careers in the conversations, but it'd be really great to have somebody come in and talk about that. Or for the class to go out and have a workplace tour where they get to go see it and see what it looks like. Because even just hearing about it and then walking in that door and seeing it is a total different thing. So it's just having those type of connection points where a kid can really see this and go, oh my gosh, this is really my jam. This is really cool. This is something I want to learn about. Or like, you know what? That may not be the path I want to go down, which we think is just as important so that our kids have a chance to really kind of affirm where they want to move.
On the, for instance, the guest speakers who come in, do you accept virtual as well as not naturally in person, but virtual speakers as well?
We do. We definitely take virtual and in person. In person is always a little bit more impactful, but it's also depending on the flexibility of the individual that we do. So we are definitely very open to either one. We had students that did a couple weeks ago with our engineering program. They had someone join that was from NASA. So obviously they were online, but it was a really cool experience for those kids to kind of see what that looked like. So we definitely are open to any of the models, and so are most of the other school districts across Virginia and in the nation, especially some of our more rural counties where it's harder for people to get out to, but they still want kids to be exposed to what's out there and available. They do a lot of things that are virtual just to make sure that those kids are having these opportunities.
So let's say there's somebody at a station. I'm an engineer level. I'm not necessarily the corporate structure side of things. I'd really love to get my station involved, but I'm not necessarily feeling the immediate interests. What would you say to someone who has the desire to get his employer more interested, to kind of get them moving a little bit and show that this is good for all of us, not just we're giving away something here?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be some type of pushback, right? That's how you market what you're doing. And so some of the big things that I do when I'm going out and talking is just I have a presentation that I bring out and I talk about what this entails, what the ask of the employer partners is. I really try to gauge where they see that they can have themselves fit into this. Is there one thing that you could do? Could you come out for one career fair? Only one for the whole year. I'm not asking a big ask. It's a couple hours, but just to bring exposure and awareness to your organization and your business. Oftentimes when we do that, and after that one first event, they're like, I'm kind of hooked. I want to keep doing this. I want to see how I can grow this. So it's really trying to start small and sustainable, but also what's going to fit your need and your availability, because we understand that, there is limits to people's time and efforts that they can put out there. So it's really about doing some of this marketing that we're doing with having, this is what the event, these are what the ask of this is what the ask is on our side. These are some ways that you can kind of connect in that we can make this work for both individuals. And then we have some really great videos and some different statistics that we like to share and put out there so that people are seeing the growth that we've had over the last few years to kind of look and see how could you step in and facilitate this in either your area, or how can we kind of connect it and move forward with it. So there's a couple different ways to do it. I don't have like a huge like secret sauce behind like what actually works the best, right? But really it's just having these conversations. And I've had some businesses that have said, I can only do this right now. And we talk about it every year. And I mean, I understand where they're coming from, but it's about having that continued conversation and letting them see. One of the big things that we really like though is, in Chesterfield, our model is our work-based learning partners do several different things throughout the year for us. We have a college and career fair that we start with at the beginning of the year to bring awareness to what's out there and available. We do a couple different events throughout the year where we're doing some mock interviews and some different hiring interview days that are kind of another way for just to get business exposure and our kids having practice. And then we have a couple things that we'll start doing in the spring. And then we follow up with a spring job fair for all of our seniors that are exiting. So this spring job fair is really targeted to seniors that want to leave and go straight to employment. They're not necessarily looking at going to college or to a training program, straight to employment. All of those business partners that come are our work-based learning partners. We do have a few others that sometimes will come into the mix, but the majority of them are them because they've dedicated that time and energy to us. And we want them to have a chance to hire our students if they're a good fit for their organization. And this will be the third year that we've done that. In the past 2 years, we've had 378 kids hired. No, that's not right. I told you the wrong number. I apologize. I think it's closer to 500 actually at this point that have been hired as a result of this. And that's resulted in about $14.2 million of economic impact going right back into Chesterfield County Public Schools. Not Chesterfield. I'm misspeaking again. Chad's going to fuss at me. About going back into Chesterfield County. So our students are returning that ROI, right? We've spent a lot of time and money and energy on our kids while they're here K through 12. So how are we making sure that we're helping to sustain that once our students exit? But it's even more so because our students have had a connection with that employer partner. They've had some type of connection, whether it's been a guest speaker in that classroom, at a career fair, or even all the way up to an internship or apprenticeship. And so these students want to come and work for these companies because they've had that chance. They've found their why. They know this is a good fit for them. And then we're seeing this really great statistic coming out of it where now they're coming back and they're working in our community and they're staying here and they're engaging. So not only are they here working, but they're staying, they're living here, they're raising their family, and we're seeing this continuous cycle of sustainability. And so having conversations like that with business partners really gets them to be like, kind of like that model, kind of makes sense to me. All right, let's see where I can maybe start in a small way and then see how we can grow it.
Interesting. I know I've spoken a few times to, both college and high school students, some in my college degree program, sometimes career fairs, sometimes in classes. I actually went back to my own high school once about 4 or 5 years ago, and kind of similarly was able to open the lid a little bit on what broadcast engineering really is. As we said earlier on, they don't know what they don't know. They don't really know what's involved in the behind the scenes. One of my favorite show and tell items was to take a broadcast transmitter tube, the big ones that are about the size of your head. If I could take one in person or at least get a photo for scale, that would usually kind of blow them away to think. Some of them are familiar, say, with the tubes in a guitar amp or something like that. But when you get one that's that large, it kind of opens up their eyes a little bit to something entirely new. And that's, of course, the whole goal of this is what else is there out there? I mean, they may have limited exposure, whether it's from their own friends and family or just basic curriculum at school, that there may be something quite different, quite unique, quite unusual. I mean, the NASA speaker you mentioned, that would have been great to be a fly on the wall for that presentation.
Right. I mean, and that's the whole thing is you make a great point. Kids only know what they hear around them, right? That's what's talked about around their kitchen table, around their sofa, with their family, their friends, their connection points. And so there's just so many things out there. And when we go in and we talk to students, they're like, I had no idea that I could do this. Or when I hear an organization such as Dominion Power, I only think about being alignment. I didn't think that I could be an accountant for Dominion because they didn't have that realization that, oh yes, it's a huge organization. They need everything that comes there. So it's just bringing that awareness because they don't think about it. They are kids. They are still learning. They're still figuring it out, but their why is very important to them. And so bringing ways that you can connect it and show really helps them to say, I never thought about that. I've now had an experience with it. And now I'm ready to move forward with it because kids can't be what they can't see. And if we don't bring the opportunities for them to be able to do that, then we're not helping them move forward and see what's available to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been interesting. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you wanted to get in that you think is important to add at this point?
I think I hit on all my numbers that I like to kind of talk about, some statistics that we have. I talk a lot, as you can tell. So, but I'm very passionate about this job. I have never felt more
It
value in
shows.
what I think. I feel great value in what I do. And my goal is every day that a kid is really helping to figure out that, yes, this is right for me, or no, it's not. I always like to share a story. And I think at this point, I'm going to have to hire this girl and pay her, because I talk about her all the time. I had a student named Justice, and this is why I think this is so important for us to do this. I worked with Justice since she was in 6th grade up until she graduated Chesterfield a few years ago. And forever she told me, I'm going to be a nurse, because her aunt was a nurse and she loved nursing. She loved helping people. She just knew this is what she was going to do. So her junior year, we went to a job shadow at a local hospital down the road here. And we go into the ER for the first time. And she saw somebody bleeding. Can you guess what happened? She passed out.
I was going to say she probably passed out.
So we got,
maybe nursing isn't quite the path you should investigate.
Right. But she had been dead set on that, right? So we had to have a hard conversation. This is a daily in this pathway and in this job. Are you going to find a way that you can to work around this? And she's like, I don't think I can. Like, I just don't think I can deal with it. And I was like, well, nursing's not going to be it for you then, because no matter where you go as a nurse, you're going to encounter blood. You're going to encounter bodily fluids. You've got to make sure that you're okay with this. And it was not something that she was able to kind of come around to, but she really wanted to work in a hospital. She'd always thought she wanted to be in a hospital. She wanted to be in a healthcare setting. She liked helping people. She liked working with people. So we did some investigating on like what her skills were, what her interests were. And she was really good at math, really liked math. So we got her into a class at the Technical Center for Medical Billing and Coding, and she loved it. She'd never even thought that could have been a pathway for her, but absolutely loved it. She is still working a few years later now here at our local hospital as a medical billing and coding administrator, and just loves the job. I mean, and so that's just a perfect example of why having experiences like this for our kids really helps them to affirm that, yep, this is what I want to do, or no, it's not, and still have that support, because she had a team that was here to help her and say, okay, what's next? If she hadn't had that experience and went off to college and wasted time and money, which we don't have time to waste, right? She would have not had her first experience in a healthcare setting till her senior year of college. So she would have wasted 4 to 5 years doing all of this work that she could have done, but had her first experience and realized this is not the right fit for her. And that's a disservice to our kids. We need to do things more like this earlier on so they can really have a better focus. And I'm not saying that kids can't change their minds, because they are kids. But if you're providing opportunities like this for them at a younger age, it's going to help them make better decisions moving forward on their courses, on their pathway, and then what's out there and available to them when they leave to reach those post-secondary goals that they have.
Well, yeah, and certainly discovering the career path you thought you chose isn't the path you really want. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, that happens to a lot of people. I can think of several of my own friends who have a degree in one thing and are doing something completely different. Not to criticize, and they learned it along the way, but it certainly can happen. But I agree, if we can cut that off earlier, or not cut it off, but help assist it earlier and steer them earlier, that's a great thing to happen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's why everybody in education does what they do. We're here to help support our kids to reach the goals that they've set for themselves, and then to be that support along the way and try to help them have a clear path. So my biggest and last thing is just that if you're nervous about work-based learning and how that gets involved, just have the conversation. Start the conversation, start looking at what it's like, see what you can do, and take baby steps. Because I really think it's rewarding for everybody in the end. All stakeholders involved really find value and reward in doing this work and helping our students to succeed.
That's great. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you today is because those who are going into the broadcast engineering field, our numbers are kind of waning somewhat. And if you look at, for instance, the average age of an SBE member, or even just the average age of those working on the technical side of broadcasts, it's an increasing number. Yeah. It's going up. Younger people are not getting in like they used to. Now, granted, used to be broadcast engineering was kind of the technical game in town for a more consumer, without going, the big steps like NASA or something like that. And of course, it was in just about every local community has a radio or TV station, right? So where else can I get paid? Do you play with electronics and work on equipment like that? But now we as broadcasters, there's a lot of competition for those same skills in production, in online, in IT. So broadcasting isn't attracting quite as many people as it used to. So we in the SBE have also looked at that as one of our own goals to try to attract younger people into the fold to come into broadcast engineering and select it as a career and try to round out our numbers again so that there's a long-term success.
Mhm.
We are also trying to get the managers, the owners, the corporate owners of the stations to sort of acknowledge and jump on board with us on that too. So something like this falls directly in line with those efforts for us. I'm sure that same statement could be applied to a whole lot of industries where the numbers of people coming into that industry aren't the same as they once were. So anything we can do to kickstart the careers and get them involved earlier than later is certainly a great idea.
For sure. I mean, and I think the biggest thing is just that awareness, bringing it out so that kids even know that it's something that's there, that's achievable for them. So starting with your elementary and your middle, just to lay that foundation is a great stepping stone to kind of just bring that awareness and push that information out there to them. Because once they start hearing about it, they'll start asking about it. Don't you worry.
Absolutely. Well, very good. I certainly appreciate you taking the time and talking to us on today's SBE WEBxtra. I'll have your contact info, and of course, anybody viewing this, whether it's on the replay later on or whenever, get in touch with us at the SBE National Office, and if we can steer someone your way, fantastic. Otherwise, we've provided some tips and some ideas on how people outside of Chesterfield County might get involved in some way. And whether it's individually or it's a corporate structure thing, either way, I'm sure the attention and the ideas, the assistance would be appreciated by all those in education.
For sure.
Very
I really
good.
appreciate you guys having me today. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks again for your time, Katy. As the SBE member knows, the SBE has been working to engage younger people to come into broadcast engineering as a career. The SBE Technical Professional Training Program and the SBE Mentor Program are just some of the ways we're trying to do that. An important point to consider is that the future is known, which means the time to act is now. Stations and group owners need to get involved in their areas to attract new talent into broadcasting and media. The earlier someone learns about the career potential, the more time that person has to prepare. So this has been the SBE WEBxtra, the SBE chapter of the web. We present it monthly. We hope you'll join us each time. Look for the replay on our YouTube channel. If you hold SBE certification, viewing the SBE WEBxtra qualifies you for 1/2 point in Category G. That's attendance. It's just like attending a local chapter meeting. If you have an idea for a topic or a guest for the SBE WEBxtra, send it to webextra@sbe.org. And that does it for this installment of the SBE WEBxtra from the Society of Broadcast Engineers, the Association for Broadcast and Multimedia Technology Professionals. Thanks again to our guest, Katy Stokes, and I'll see you next month.